So I never filmed this, and I probably should have closer to the date. Here is my acute appendicitis story. I started getting stomach pain around 4 p.m. I left work at 4:40 and I was in pain and it just kept increasing, and I was like, wow, this is weird. And I'm down on the couch with a blanket over me because at this point I'm shivering with hot and cold fevers. I caved and I messaged Anna and I was like, hey, I'm not feeling so well and I've tried a bunch of things, please come help. I don't like asking for help, so by that point I think Anna was like, okay, she's dead, she's gonna die. Arrives, gives me an anti-nausea pill, I think, and within 30 minutes I've tossed my cookies, it's gone. So at that point I come outside, I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready, let's go to the hospital. Take Anna's temperature and they let her in, and then they take my temperature and they won't let me in. Well, what now? And they're like, no, you need to do a COVID test. And I'm like, okay, but like everything is closed and I'm in an extreme amount of pain. At this point, I'm standing, I'm like hunched over and I cannot move. She comes outside and she opens up one of the testing center lockers and she makes me lie down in the bed. And I think I sort of like pass out for a minute or so, because when I come to, she's there and she's here to take a COVID test. She scoops my brains out. I got a negative test. They admitted me into the ER and they didn't put me out in the open, which is I'm very glad about. It was a super empty room. There was like one drunk guy that was brought in by his son or something. Took me into this little side room. Then they just started with the tests. The doctor came in, was pressing my stomach, and as soon as he pressed over my appendix, I was like folding in half. And they were like, okay, well, we don't know if this is like PCOS, which would be ovary related, or if it's acute appendicitis, which we can treat. If it was not appendicitis, they would have sent me to the university hospital. I am terrified of needles. I hate hospitals. I hate the smell of hospitals. I hate the lighting. I drew blood immediately so they could go test it for white cell blood count. And that was gonna take at least an hour or so. They wanted me to fill out forms. I couldn't even hold a pen because I was in so much pain. And I was constantly hot and cold fevers. I was in and out of consciousness, and when I came to again, they sent me for an x-ray, and then they sent me to a CT. I think at this point it was like 10 p.m. I'm walking into the room and Anna goes to me, she's like, ooh, bad luck girl, bad news. And I'm like, what? It's appendicitis? And at this point it was like 11 p.m. We're like, have you eaten anything? Because you need to have surgery first thing tomorrow morning. And I was like, no, I haven't eaten at all, and not even water. I haven't been able to keep anything down. At this point, it is 11:30-ish, and I'm checked into the hospital. I'm still in pain. I have not been given painkiller, but they've given me an antibiotic. I get into the bed, and now I'm exhausted. I just want to sleep. I am uncomfortable. I'm in pain. I am very, very stressed that my appendix is going to burst. The nurse comes over, and she has me refill in all the information I gave the ER people. I think they woke us up at 5:40 in the morning. And my sister arrived, but at this point I hadn't cried once, not once at all, because I was like trying to manage my breathing. And I was called to the front desk on the fourth floor to sit with the doctor, and they made me walk hunched over to the front desk. The doctor was there. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna chat you through the procedure. And he pulls up a patient who he did his appendix he removed yesterday. And he's like, well, this is a very common procedure, no biggie. And he showed me photos they took during the surgery of like, he's like, we're just gonna make 2 microscopic cuts inside your belly button. It could be 2 or 3 cuts. One is for the camera and one is for the tools. And we're gonna open you up, and then it's a very simple tiny procedure, and we'll take it out and then you'll be back out. He's like, the surgery itself will be like an hour or something. When my sister walked in, she saw me in like my hospital scrubs with my IV next to me, and she burst out in tears. And obviously when she cries, I cry. And we're like not looking at each other, because if we look at each other, we're gonna cry more. And I wish I could say it was very easy sailing from there out, but it wasn't, because they take me to surgery, and then they won't let my sister come further than a certain part, but they don't even let her leave the 4th floor. They keep her there. And when they finally wheel me into the OR, the doctor comes in and he's like very much enjoying himself. He's like stoked to have a surgery, whatever. And he's asking things and I respond in Korean, like the one thing I could say is that I'm South African. And then like there were like 6 staff in the OR, and they're like, oh, that's cool and stuff. And this might be weird, but I love being put under for surgery. I've had it a few times where they put the mask over you, and it's because it's literally like this woozy, dizzy feeling, and then you can just give in because you know when you wake up it'll all be done. And they were like, oh, okay, cool, you're South African. Put it over my face. And then when I came to after the surgery, I immediately started shivering a lot, and I had like full body tremors, and I wasn't cold, but they kept like slapping my chest trying to get me to come to. As I was literally leaving the OR, I started feeling extreme amount of pain. Turns out they hadn't given me any painkiller when they woke me, and like painkiller in Korea is not a thing because they're so scared they're going to get you addicted to opioids that they refuse to give it to you. They're like, oh, you can manage your pain, and if you want painkiller, they charge you 60,000 won, so like $60 for a little bottle that you have to ration per hour. And I was in extreme amount of pain, and I kept shivering. And then as soon as I got wheeled into my room, I tossed my cookies again. I like over the railing of the bed tossed my cookies, and I do not remember what happened in that next hour, 2-hour gap. I'll have to ask my sister what happened there. And I think I'll put in my sister's side of the story here because I remember fading in and out of consciousness.
Catherine asked me to fill you in on what happened after her surgery. She went into surgery at about 10:15. She came out of surgery at about 11:45. She came out of surgery in a state of shock. She was shaking, she was shivering, she was clammy, she was a little bit cold to the touch, but she was running a fever. It was just a full state of panic, full state of shock. She spent about 15 minutes shaking like that, just mumbling about something. It's incoherent. At that point, 15 minutes later, she's just saying pain, she's in pain. And I'm like, okay. Went to the nurse's station and I'm like, she's in pain, can you do something about it? And they came back with me to the room and they're like, are you in pain? She said, yes. Are you nauseous? She said, no. Like, okay, cool. The pain medication will start working soon. And she said, okay. Half an hour later, she's still 10 out of 10 pain. And I went back to the nurse's station. I'm like, she's still in pain, do something about it. They're like, okay. Came back to the room with me, gave her a shot of something. I said, thank you, and they left again. Half an hour later, she's still 10 out of 10 pain. 45 minutes later, still 10 out of 10 pain. An hour later, I'm like, okay, back at the nurse's station, she's still in pain, do something about it. When I came back, they were like, yeah, no, just give it some time, the pain medication will start working soon. The fourth time I went to the nurse's station, give her something with the pain because this is not working, she's still in pain, do something about it. And she said that here is your pain medication drip thing, which has been with her the whole time, but because she came out of the surgery very nauseous, she couldn't have it immediately. So they then opened it up, and I just remember pressing that thing so many times in the span of an hour. I think it took until about 5 or 6 p.m. when she said that she's no longer at a 10 out of 10, she rated it at about a 7, the lowest that she rated it the entire hospital stay, which is incredible because we had full-on conversations. She was eating, she was walking around with a 7 out of 10 pain level, which is a crazy thought. That was her coming out of surgery. It was stressful for me because it's not something that I've ever had to deal with. Don't want to deal with ever again. There's a very big language barrier for me, between me and the nurses. I think that just made the anxiety and the stress of everything that much worse, because knowing that I can't tell them, listen here, I'm getting anxious because she's still in pain, and I didn't really like that aspect of it. But Anna was absolutely incredible during this entire time. She helped her admitted on Tuesday. She was with her from, I think it was like 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. on Tuesday evening, helping her with all the paperwork and the documents, etc., etc. Anna couldn't go with her into the hospital room because due to COVID, they're like, you can only have one guardian, and Catherine named me, so Anna couldn't help her immediately that night. Shout out to Anna because she really was very, very, very helpful with everything extra, even if it meant walking Atlas from helping me calm down. Catherine came home with me on Friday morning and she stayed with me the weekend. I watched Atlas for the next week, and yeah, it was a very eventful week in September.
My sister stayed she took like the Wednesday off to stay with me in the hospital, and she slept there. So yeah, that is the story of my acute appendicitis, guys. Thank you for sticking around. If you listened to it all the way to here, I really didn't take a lot of photos and videos when I was in the hospital. So I'm gonna see if you do see any here, it's probably like the 4 photos I took and any I outsourced, if there were. So yeah, that is the story.
Excuse me. Selfies.
Aku belum kena meliput.
I love. This is a cut. You get it.
Anda.
Yeah.
Son. Oh my god, good boy! I'm not sure what he wants, but this is where he's sitting right now. So I'm a little bit confused. This is where he got here himself. I didn't put him here. And what is up with you? It is my first day back at work since last week, Tuesday. Actually, it's a complete week since I've been at work. So my co-teacher is a little bit stressed about me. She doesn't want me to strain myself. So she did not let me teach the first 2 periods, and she's having me do speaking tests with 5th graders where I sit and the kids come to me because she's so stressed about me. She's pretty sweet, but I'm okay. I can work, I just can't lift things. I did it. I defeated the pumpkin. I hate taking the skin of pumpkin. If anyone has a way, an old wives' tale, a hot tip, how to get pumpkin skin off without fearing for your fingers' lives, please let me know. Because I finally peeled it and now I am going to boil them so that I can soften them, and then I'm going to roast them, and then I'm going to decide how and what I'm going to do with it. And then I am going to roast these seeds, pumpkin seeds as well. I love pumpkin seeds. And I need to wash them first. It's time to water these plants again. The way I told my coworker to check if the plants need to be watered, not that it registers in her mind at all, is that when these leaves start curling in a lot, like this, and their veins get super pronounced, that's when they're a little bit dehydrated. A really healthy, hydrated leaf looks like, I don't have an example for you because all my plants need to be watered. And of course, look at my monstera. Look how big this leaf is. I'm so proud of it, but I've moved it now back into the corner because it likes semi-light, not direct light. I moved it here because I gave this big fake plant that was here to my sister, and instead of putting it there, because this corner gets a little bit more humid and it loves humidity.
What is doing? Huh? What is doing?
Today I am leaving work early to take out my stitches. I have gotten back some of my energy and my love for cooking. So now I am baking a banana bread, and then I'm gonna make like a chicken pumpkin salad for dinner with like nuts and stuff on it. So I'm very excited.
Atlas. Hey, wat maak jij?
I love die lipstick op jou, so mooi.
En een klein beetje nette oranje. These would also be a fun prize.
Yeah, they'd love that. Drive their homeroom teacher crazy.
It's not my problem. They have to wear their mask at school.
We walked in to shop for something else and we immediately got distracted by the shiny display by the door. Like, good job. Marketing. Capitalism, you worked. You won.
You won.